Pottery was a thriving industry in Cincinnati during the late 19th and early 20th century. One company was able to achieve international acclaim by employing both unique artistic techniques and inventive marketing. The art was pushed to new levels through competition. It was a company where men and women were able to work together and set themselves apart as artists. Rookwood Pottery Company emptied its first kiln on Thanksgiving Day, November 27, 1880. It was not long before the business became an international contender in the arena of art pottery. However, when Maria Longworth Nichols opened the pottery, there was little reason to expect it would survive very long. Nichols knew little about pottery production or marketing and had no experience in business or managing employees. At the time, she had only 1 year of serious experience decorating pottery as a guest in Granite Factory. Nevertheless, Nichols had been awed by the ceramics and Japanese arts at the 1876 Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia. It was at this point that she became determined to have a pottery of her own. Nichols was privileged enough to come from a wealthy family who fully funded her endeavor. This meant Rookwood could pay for its mistakes and had time to establish itself. A key part in the immersion of Rookwood pottery was the rivalry between Nichols and M. Louise McLaughlin. According to the Cincinnati Museum of Art, these dueling divas were the most important figures in the history of American ceramics in the last quarter of the 19th century. They competed in china painting in Cincinnati. The two were equally successful until in 1877, when McLaughlin wrote her first self-help book on china painting in America, titled China Painting, a Practical Manual for the Use of Amateurs in the Decoration of Hard Porcelain. The manual was widely successful and launched a ceramics movement led by women. McLaughlin came from a similar wealthy background to her rival Nichols. She had wanted to become an artist from an early age, and although McLaughlin worked in many media of art, her greatest recognition is in ceramics. The competition between McLaughlin and Nichols originated with painting teacups. In May of 1875, each woman painted teacups and saucers to be auctioned off at the Cincinnati Centennial Tea Party. The event was organized to help fund the exhibition of artwork by Cincinnati women in the nation's Centennial Exhibition to be held in Philadelphia the following year. At this point, their work was viewed equally. McLaughlin tended to paint portraits, while Nichols' paintings were in the style of children's storybooks. McLaughlin then developed a distinctive glaze technique in 1878 in which the decoration is applied under the glaze instead of over. She was the first in America to do so and received acclaim from New York and Paris. The technique was known as Cincinnati limoges. It made McLaughlin a seminal figure in the history of ceramics, and it's one reason why the history of American art pottery begins in Cincinnati. In early August 1879, McLaughlin conceived the idea of making the largest vase in America with decoration under the glaze. It was a difficult process because colors used for decoration faded or fired out when fired in the kiln. After 4 unsuccessful attempts, 3 were created on February 8, 1880. Because of its large size, the vase was called the Alibaba vase, after the jar that held the 40 thieves in Arabian Nights. The vase was displayed at the Cincinnati Pottery Club's first reception on May 5, 1880. It was reported that it was, without question, the finest piece of pottery with the finest decoration ever made in the country. Nichols heard about her rival's vase and was not to be outdone. She rose to the challenge and created her Aladdin vase. Nichols had pirated McLaughlin's Cincinnati limoges technique. Although the Aladdin vase was 7 inches shorter than the Alibaba vase, it is more than 2 inches wider. In pottery, tall vases are difficult to fire, but the real challenge is to increase diameter when throwing the vase. Nichols' vase was called a tour de force. It displays Nichols' typical sketchy brushstrokes and characteristic Japanese-inspired dragon encircling form. Each competing diva of American ceramics received her just recognition and made Cincinnati the cradle of American pottery. Motivated by success and pushed by competition, Nichols persuaded her father to lend her the funds to start Rookwood in a converted schoolhouse. She decided to continue using McLaughlin's underglaze slip decoration technique, and was one of only 4 potteries in the world that could achieve it. Other than finances, Rookwood Pottery Company had a few other advantages. It was located in the Queen City of artistic ceramics. Nichols could hire experienced craftsmen from commercial potteries. The School of Design of the University of Cincinnati, later renamed the Art Academy of Cincinnati, provided those trained in a combination of art and industry. Rookwood was founded as a part of a movement that swept Cincinnati in the late 1870s that involved china painting and pottery decoration as primary art forms. Women like Nichols and McLaughlin, as well as amateurs who used local potteries as training grounds, spearheaded the movement. Furthermore, Rookwood's choice of identity was important in establishing it as a valuable commodity. The pottery emerged at a time when the United States was rapidly changing. The economy had moved from agricultural to industrial, while populations were moving out of small towns and into industrialized cities. Some felt that authority was shifting to impersonal entities rather than individuals. Unskilled workers were creating more items in mass production. It degraded workers into feeders of machines. While commercial potteries employed machinery and produced their ware in molds, Rookwood remained hand-thrown and advertised itself as one-of-a-kind art objects. Nichols insisted on hand craftsmanship. During the first 2 years, the pottery had produced mostly utilitarian household objects and tableware. These simple design, chast-formed pieces were hailed for making inexpensive ware pretty. But this is not what Nichols had in mind when she founded Rookwood. She wanted original pieces that were uniquely created by artists, but this division of labor was only recently being considered by Cincinnati potteries. Nichols looked to the School of Design. In September of 1881, 19-year-old Robert Valentine was hired as the pottery's first full-time decorator. 7 other decorators were hired in the following 2 years. All entered as amateurs. Because Nichols imposed no artistic dogma on her decorators, they were free to pursue their individual aesthetic. A variety of decorative styles and approaches resulted. Inexperienced decorators were able to develop a The artists received prefabricated forms and had to create decorating schemes that harmonized. Painterly colors were the ware's greatest attraction. The underglaze gave an illusion of oil on canvas, including vigorous swirling brushstrokes. Because colors are dramatically altered in the kiln, it was difficult for successful execution. It took time to master palettes and predict final transformations, but they mastered a full spectrum of colors. Appropriate decoration was dictated by firing temperature. Many decorators hired by Nichols became well known, including Laura Fry, Anne-Marie Bookprinter, Matthew Andrew Daly, and William Purcell MacDonald, to name a few. Her first decorator, Robert Valentine, achieved fame of his own. In 1905, he developed Rookwood's most saleable line. He decorated scenic vellums, where landscape scenes are painted under vellum glaze. Vellum is a transparent matte glaze that gives a foggy or misty quality to the decorations underneath. Valentine later wrote, "I was the first regularly employed decorator and served the capacity of chief decorator for the period of 24 years, during which time I originated and developed many of the chief effects which made Rookwood pottery famous." Another notable decorator is Japanese artist Kotaro Shireya Madani, who was hired by Nichols in 1887. Nichols had wanted a Japanese decorator since establishing Rookwood. In fact, she had toyed with the idea of importing an entire Japanese pottery because she was so infatuated with their artwork. Shireya Madani was a skilled porcelain painter and a useful talent for Rookwood. His work was first shown at a Piedmont exposition in Atlanta in 1887. He brought an international stature to the pottery company. The decorator helped Rookwood capture a gold medal at the 1889 Universal Exposition in